We have quorum.
All right. Well, we will go ahead and get started then. Call the meeting to order. And Claire, if you would please go ahead and call roll.
Certainly. City of Auburn, Nancy Backus.
I'm here.
And City of Kent, Dana Ralph.
Good afternoon.
City of Burien, Colleen Branch Schluter.
Good afternoon, all.
City of Covington, Christina Soltis. Or Deborah Hartsock. Step right here. Nope. All right. City of Des Moines, Tracy Buxton.
I'm here.
City of Federal Way, Brian Davis. He did let me know he would be running a few minutes behind, so we anticipate him being here shortly. And then City of Maple Valley, Sean Kelly.
Here, and I'll be leaving at 2 o'clock today, just so you know.
All right, and welcome back.
Please.
And City of Normandy Park, Eric Zimmerman.
I'm present. Good to see everyone.
Wonderful. City of Renton, Carmen Rivera. Here, or Ryan McIrvin.
I'm here until she gets here. Yeah.
Great, thank you. City of Tukwila. I know that Tom McLeod is out, and we have Dennis Martinez as the alternate.
I'm here. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And King County, Sonari Marshall. And I know she wasn't able to attend today, and they weren't able to arrange an alternate either. So that's it. Thank you, Mayor. Chair.
Okay. So roll call serves as introductions for the board, but I know we have many more people on the call today. So Claire, I'm going to ask you to call out the names, but I do understand that we have an advisory board member present. I think, is that Maria? Is Maria on?
Yes, she is.
Oh, there she is. Maria, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Maria Lynn Owens. I'm new on the advisory board. I have lived experience. I became sheltered in 2018 in Auburn. I lived there until a year or so ago, and I'm currently in Kent. I just started a nonprofit called Jimmy's Place, hoping to help bridge the gap between outreach workers and case managers not being able to get a hold of their clients and offer food and clothing support. And I do a lot of severe weather stuff.
Welcome. We're glad to have you with us. All right. And Claire, I will ask you to call on those who are not members of the board.
Thank you. So we have members of the staff work group here. So I'm just gonna call on you to kind of popcorn around. I see Nicholas Matz.
Hi, everybody. Thanks.
And then Nicholas, you want to pass it to someone else? And if folks could say their city, that would be helpful too. Maybe your title.
Hi, Angie.
Hi, Nicholas. My name is Angie Mathias. I'm the Long Range Planning Manager for the City of Renton. Hi, Michaela.
Hi, Michaela Daffer, and I'm lead staff to the King County Affordable Housing Committee, and I work at King County, and I serve on the SKIP staff work group, and I will pass it to Nicole.
Well, someone just changed my name on here. Thank you. Nicole Nordholm. I am the, what's my title now? Community Services Director for the City of Des Moines. Oh, and I'll pass it to, where'd she go? Sarah.
Hello, I'm Sarah Bridgeford, Community Services Manager with the City of Federal Way, and I will pass it to Marina.
Good afternoon, Marina Hanson. I'm the Human Services Manager for the City of Kent, and I will pass it to, oh gosh, who is left?
I think that's it.
Easy enough. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, very, very good. Thank you all for being here. Oh, Laurel, looks like so Laurel is here.
Hello, Laurel Humphrey, City of Tukwila Legislative Analyst. Thanks.
Thank you, Laurel. Welcome. We know that the members of the board are all dedicated to affordable housing and working on issues surrounding homelessness, not in this year's work plan, but in upcoming years. And we so appreciate the work of the staff working group. Working is really should be the first part of the title because they work so hard on all of these issues and to make sure that we are up to speed on them, and really, really appreciate all of the work that's being done. And that includes Dorsal and Claire as well. Dorsal, do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, thank you, Mayor. My name is Dorsal Plants. He has pronouns, SKIP Program Coordinator.
Excellent. And Claire, of course, I think we all know you, but if you want to just say a few words.
Certainly, I'm Claire Goodwin. I'm the SKIP Executive Manager, and I have a cough today, so my apologies if I sound a little off. It's because I've got that 2-month cough going around, I guess. So.
And then I make you talk more. My apologies for that. Let's move on to public comment. This is the time on the agenda for public comment. And if you would like to make any comments, please use the raise hand function, probably located at the bottom of your screen. You'll have 3 minutes for remarks. Please state your name and city of residence for the record. Ryan?
Hey,
I don't think you're wanting public comment, but you have something to say.
Oh, no, I just thanks. I just wanted to acknowledge that Councilmember Rivera has joined us from Renton. So, and welcome her to SKIP.
Great. Thank you, Ryan. Welcome, Carmen. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Carmen Rivera. I use she, her pronouns, and I am from the city of Renton.
Great. And Carmen, if you could, everybody came in with SKIP panelist as their name. So if you could rename yourself on your end, we would appreciate that. And then is there anyone that would like to provide public comment? I'm not seeing any. Did we have any written comment or any online requests, Claire?
We did not.
Okay. Well, I will move on then, and we will move to the approval of the January 19th, 2024 minutes. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the approval of the January 19th, 2024 minutes, please say aye.
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 All opposed, please say no. Motion passes. All right, Claire, do we have any agenda modifications today?
We do not, Chair.
All right. Then we will move to board business. Item 5. First is the election of chair and vice chair. At the November 2023 and the January 2024 executive board meetings, staff put out a call for board members to submit interest or nominations for the chair and vice chair positions. Claire informed me that we have only received 2 nominations, and those are from both myself and Mayor Ralph to continue to serve in our roles as chair and vice chairs respectively. At this time, are there any other nominations of board members interested in serving as chair or vice chair? Anybody at all? All right, well, Claire, I am going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Chair. So given that there are no additional nominations for the board to consider, and the official nomination for the position of chair is for Nancy Backus, and the nomination for the position of vice chair is for Dana Ralph, I would ask for a motion regarding the position of chair.
I'll make the motion to, oh,
Go ahead, Sean.
oh, okay, I'll make the motion to make Mayor Nancy Backus from Auburn as the chair and Mayor Dana Ralph from the city of Kent as the vice chair for 2024.
I
This is
second.
Dennis Martinez. I second that. Oh, I second that motion. I'm sorry.
Great. Councilmember Martinez seconded. So the motion is to approve the nomination and appointment for chair for Nancy Backus and for vice chair to Dana Ralph. Is there any discussion?
They both doing an outstanding job representing South King County.
Anyone else? All right. Seeing none, all those in favor of appointing Nancy Backus to the position of chair of the SKIP Executive Board for a term of 1 year, and to Dana Ralph for the position of vice chair of the SKIP Executive Board for a term of 1 year, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. All right, the motion carries. And at this point, I'll turn it back over to the chair.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you to Dana for continuing to serve in your role as vice chair and for your dedication to South King County. I really do appreciate the opportunity to work with you and look forward to the upcoming year.
Likewise, thank you, Nancy. I think we make a good team and do our very best to channel this board and make sure that we're bringing things forward that are important, and grateful for all the work that you all do. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next item is an exciting item. City of SeaTac interlocal agreement for SKIP membership. At the January 23rd, 2024 SeaTac City Council meeting, the council took action to become a SKIP member jurisdiction. Today, we will consider incorporating SeaTac into our membership by adopting the SeaTac agreement and approving their prorated operational contribution. Claire, would you like to provide more information on this?
Thank you, Chair. So this is an exciting day that I think many of us have been anticipating for a long while. As the chair mentioned, SeaTac City Council formally adopted the SKIP formation interlocal agreement as a companion agreement along with the 2024 SKIP work plan and budget, and committed $300,000 in general funds towards the SKIP Housing Capital Fund. I've been fortunate to have had the opportunity to present at SeaTac a number of times over the last 6 months and hear the dialogue at the city and also address outstanding questions that the council had. So based on those presentations, it's clear to me that the SeaTac City Council is committed to advancing the goals of affordable housing as a sub-region, and I'm thrilled that we've made it this far. Adding a party to the SKIP interlocal agreement not only requires action by the city, but requires final approval by a 2/3 majority vote of the SKIP Executive Board. A simple majority of the board will determine operational funding obligations SeaTac shall commit to as a condition of becoming a party to the agreement. So in your agenda packet, you have the SeaTac agreement adopted by the SeaTac Council without the party's signature. I have the signature copy, which will be what the chair ultimately signs should you adopt that today. So the content is exactly the same. Also in your packet is the SKIP formation interlocal agreement, which the SeaTac Council adopted as an exhibit in addition to the 2024 work plan and budget. So should the board approve the SeaTac agreement, you'll also need to approve the operational contribution of SeaTac for this year. And since SeaTac didn't take action to join SKIP until late January, and we are now considering formalizing their membership in February, I recommend prorating their contribution to $10,456 rather than the full year contribution of $11,407 for their population size. And in future years, they would contribute the full amount based on their population size, just as each current member jurisdiction currently does. So should the board choose to approve the two motions incorporating SeaTac into the SKIP collective, I have invited Councilmember James Lavelle from the city, who was selected to serve as SeaTac's representative to this meeting, to jump right into the work once the board takes action. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Claire before I ask for a motion? All right, is there a motion to approve the SeaTac agreement and authorize the SKIP chair to execute the agreement?
So moved as read. This is Tracy Buxton.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the first action? All right, all those in favor of the approval of the SeaTac agreement and to authorize the SKIP chair to execute the agreement, please say aye.
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 All opposed, please say no. Motion carries. The second motion, is there a motion to approve the prorated 2024 operational member contribution by the city of SeaTac in the amount of $10,456?
So moved as read. This is Tracy.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second, it's a Sean. Oh, I'll give it to Dennis. Dennis, go.
Right.
Sorry.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second regarding the prorated membership contribution. Is there any discussion? Right. All those in favor of the approval to prorate the 2024 operational member contribution by the city of SeaTac in the amount of $10,456, please say aye.
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 All opposed, please say no.
It's one of those holidays.
Motion passes. And James, welcome to the party. Would you like to say anything on behalf of your city?
Sure. And I think if it's okay, I'll say some things on behalf of me personally.
Absolutely.
This is so far my only city council commitment that lands kind of in the middle of the workday. Thankfully for me, that doesn't mean shifting gears too much. I work full-time at the Chief Seattle Club, which is a housing and homelessness provider throughout King County with our headquarters in Pioneer Square. So we have shelters and then permanent supportive housing. So there's a little bit of a shift, right? Thinking about the way cities approach it. So I'll do my best to make that jump during the meeting. But for example, today I'm in our kind of one-on-one or our small meeting, virtual meeting closet, as all around me, the operations of a housing and homelessness shelter are going on. So I hope I don't get interrupted too much, but if so, I know that's just the nature of the work. We're really excited, immediately when I took office, actually before I was certified, I was reached out to by Mark Santos Johnson, who's a friend and mentor of mine, and I've worked with him in the city of Renton and lots of the cities here when I've worked at Neighborhood House or other organizations. And he said, first thing is, let's talk about SKIP. We've got this kind of hole in the map on SKIP. And I know that there's lots of the current city council members who also feel like that's a gap. And that we're really excited. This started long before me, before my participation on city council, the effort to get SeaTac into SKIP. So I'm thankful, Claire, that you came and made the case, answered questions, and were so reassuring in the value this would bring to SeaTac and the whole region. Personally and professionally, I'm very committed to the regional effort and work closely with the county, the state, all the cities to try to make these things, to make sure that everyone has housing. So thank you on behalf of the city of SeaTac. I'm really excited. We would have welcomed any questions, of course, but it's always nice to hear unanimous approval and also folks fighting to second the motion. And so Sean and Dennis, it's nice to see there'll be some competitive seconding going on in the meeting, because we've got that at our city council as well. I'm a new city council member, so I appreciate anyone who's got time to reach out and say, hey, you stepped over the line on that thing, or you could have gone farther on that thing. If folks are seeing areas where I can, represent SeaTac as well as I can in settings like this, interlocal settings, right, are different than council meetings and the day job. So I look forward to working with everyone, from learning with everyone, and to making sure that there's no one in King County, south, north, east, or anywhere that doesn't have the kind of housing they need. And also just I'm enrolled in the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa Indians from Belcourt, North Dakota. and have done a lot with tribal housing for my tribe in North Dakota, although I've been born and raised here. We go back in the summers. Also not something that we have a lot of, I think, except for maybe some of our partners down at Muckleshoot and Snoqualmie for King County. But should it come up, I'm ready to pretend like I know what I'm doing as I go ask the people who know much more than I do what they're doing. So thank you.
Excellent. Well, we are excited to have you as our executive board member, and we are thrilled to have the city of SeaTac as a member of SKIP. I think you'll find the work very rewarding and that the members of the executive board very committed to this work. So welcome. We're glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. All right, we'll move on to briefings, and that is item 6 on the agenda. The first one is Meet the Developer Multi-Service Center, MSC. Today, we begin a series of briefings from South King County developers, and many of whom have recommended funding, whom we have recommended funding for through the SKIP Housing Capital Fund. And we're beginning the series with the Multi-Service Center. And they were formed in 1971, and MSC provides housing, rental assistance, employment support, and essential resources for the South King County community. MSC was one of the project sponsors who the executive board recommended for funding, and that was the rehabilitation of Victorian Place 2 in Des Moines. And MSC has served on our advisory board since the board's very first meeting. Claire, I'll turn it over to you for introductions.
Thank you, Chair. So as the Chair mentioned, this is going to be part of a series of presentations by South King County affordable housing developers to help bring awareness about these organizations' mission and vision, and to help put faces to those organizational names. So I connected with most of the board members who were on the board back in December about this concept of bringing developers to the SKIP board, and heard lots of support for this concept. The affordable housing developers can't make a project work without engagement with our cities. Often that engagement is at the permitting level, which is behind the scenes. The goal here is to help facilitate these connections between those that are on the ground building and rehabbing and preserving the affordable housing stock in South King County with our board who makes funding decisions to support these organizations and others. So with that, I am so excited to introduce our speakers from the Multi-Service Center. Kristen York joined MSC as CEO in October 2023 and brings 15 years of direct service and nonprofit leadership experience to the organization. Her work has focused on uprooting inequitable systems, uplifting communities, and repairing harm done to the most vulnerable members of our communities. And Amanda Santo has been with MSC since 2008 and has served as their Chief Operations Officer since 2022. She began her journey at MSC as an AmeriCorps member and was later hired as a family development specialist for an employment program serving job seekers experiencing homelessness, and also wore a variety of other hats at MSC since then. She is a certified national results-oriented management and accountability implementer, which I find fascinating and would love to learn more about. So with that, welcome Kristen and Amanda, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for having us today, and for such a warm welcome to the community. I am Kirsten York. I use she, her pronouns, as you heard, CEO of Multi-Service Center as of October 1 of 2023, and come from a sister organization serving the communities in very similar ways. So Amanda and I are going to present to you an overview of our organization. We have lots of services we're providing to the community, and I get the opportunity to rock through the mainline services, and then Amanda's going to support the housing specific services and affordable housing units that we offer. So our full name, Multi-Service Center, affectionately known as MSC. Our mission is building a future without poverty by creating pathways to help, hope, and dignity for our neighbors. So we are a community action agency. There are 30 of us in the state. We serve every county in the state of Washington. There are 1,100 in the nation. And we have been around since 1971. So kind of born out of the war and poverty during the Reagan administration, when localized demographic approach to serving communities in poverty was born. We have about 100 employees and we have 600 volunteers throughout our services that help us do our work. We connect to our neighbors through all of the services that you get to see in the following slides, and we foster good partnership in order to do this work. So we're grateful to this community and this board to support the work that we do. As you can see, we have a large number of human beings that come through our service delivery every year. So over 40,000 folks. We have very low income demographics and a very diverse group of folks that we're serving. Folks who are experience disability, who are under the age of 18. So we're serving families and adults and seniors. And our budget is roughly around $23 million a year. So one of our main programs that many folks know us about is our energy assistance and utility assistance programming. We have a couple different sources of funding that serve our clients, either through supporting their heating assistance or their electric and natural gas. We serve thousands and thousands of households every year for this program, and it provides them heating assistance grants to either their heating source or their utility bill. We have a food bank on site here, and we have Monday, Wednesday, Friday distributions from 10 to 2. We have distribution happening still here today. We have folks coming in. We serve about 300 households in a sitting. So we have quite a few people coming through our food bank locations. And when we talk about our new affordable housing development projects, we're adding some affordable housing units this summer and fall. And at that location, we will be hosting a satellite food bank called Redondo Heights, and it will have a market-based food bank. Our food bank style is market-based, meaning it's much more grocery-centered, oriented toward choice for clients to come in and pick their food. And we just really enjoy offering those services. We have a couple other supplemental services in that program. We do some DoorDash delivery for folks who can't physically make it to food bank, and also do some work with seniors. We work with people on job readiness. So we're talking about their next career step, or their maintaining their current career, talking about reducing barriers to finding employment or keeping employment. So we have some great programs around job readiness in South King County, and work with adults in that program. We have long-term care ombudsman program, which we host the state ombuds and also regional ombuds, where they are supporting and advocating folks who are in long-term care facilities, and they do advocacy, policy work, and also on the ground work with many volunteers who support folks in those communities and in those facilities, making sure that their rights are advocated for. We have youth and young adults services here, talking about people through 16 to 21, talking about self-sufficiency toward their future, working with reducing barriers to see where they want to grow and move on to. And we talk about education and training goals, employment, and then wraparound services to help support them in their next steps. As you can see, our service delivery community is very diverse, and we have specific immigrant and refugee programming that works with education and outreach. A lot of it is around resource navigation. How do they get access to resources? How are they integrating into the resources available into the community, either at MSC or through other agencies that are providing these services? We do information and referral to other warm handoff partnerships that we can offer support with, and really ground our work in cultural competency and educational workshops. We have emergency assistance. This was a really big push during COVID, right? We found that we had folks who were at risk of losing their permanent housing and did a lot of rental assistance. We're talking about housing prevention, preventing people from becoming homeless. We do this through a wide variety of city partnerships where we're providing rental assistance to clients who are at risk of becoming homeless. And then we're also the regional access point, one of the regional access points for what we call coordinated entry, where highly vulnerable homeless folks are screened and assessed to be put on a list to be eligible for housing placement in our housing portfolios throughout King County. So we have staff who come in and work with clients who are hoping to be eligible for housing and how to create space for them to do that.
Okay, I'll talk a little bit more about our housing options. Hi, everyone. So we have some supportive housing programs focused on housing single women. Our Titusville Station, which is our oldest property, over 100 years old, in a historic building in downtown Kent, houses, we have 19 units available for single women. We also have some commercial spaces down there. So it's a very unique spot for us. And we also do our Burien Vets program, which is a partnership with King County Housing and King County Housing Authority and King County Veterans Program as well. So it's 9 units there for veterans and for short-term housing options. And then we have a case manager on site that helps navigate to more permanent housing. I will talk more about our affordable housing portfolio. So this is our full portfolio. The project that Kirsten mentioned, our Redondo Heights, is currently in construction in Federal Way and is a TOD project that will add an additional 334 units to our portfolio, taking our total unit count between King and Pierce County over 1,000 units. So this is just a high level overview of all of our properties encompassing South King County and beyond. Again, one thing I think that's unique about us as an affordable housing developer is you can see some diverse housing. We have some general affordable housing on the left-hand side, some of which are 100% project-based, voucher-based. So Fern Hill, for example, is 100%. It's all subsidized, which is great. Project-based housing. Then we also have senior housing and veterans housing as well. So a really diverse portfolio. And even, we have some rural areas in Buckley and Graham with some smaller projects as well. So just a really diverse portfolio of housing options that Multi-Service Center owns. Try to get kind of a sense of where we are regionally. You can see us. You can see a concentration there in South King County, and we'll talk a little bit more specifically about South King County and our projects today. But I just wanted to give everyone kind of an overview of where Multi-Service Center's impact is around affordable housing investment regionally across King and Pierce. I mentioned unit count earlier. Here's an overview of unit count as well as target populations in South King County. So now we're taking a little closer look at our projects in Auburn, Des Moines, Federal Way, and Kent. And you kind of see where we're focused on general affordable housing. You can see the unit impact, lots of units in Kent and Federal Way, as you see here, and some of which are PSH focused, veterans or seniors. So again, just a diverse portfolio of options of affordable housing. So just kind of continue. Okay, and I think it's also helpful to note some of these projects were acquisition rehab projects and some of these were new construction. So again, we have also a diverse portfolio of projects that we acquired that were older, and we'll talk a little bit about our preservation challenges later in the presentation. But and some of these are also new construction, which new construction sometimes it poses its own challenges around development, permitting, those types of funding challenges we'll talk a little bit more about in our next slides. So I wanted to give you a visual of some of our beautiful projects here. So above, you can see Radcliffe, which is our senior project in Kent. Top right is our William J. Wood Veterans House in Federal Way, 44 units, VASH, 100% VASH project, supporting veterans that are and their families that are transitioning out of homelessness. Wraparound supports, lots of services on site, great partnership with the VA, great program, 24-hour staffing, tons of case management support, on-site medical services, lots of things happening. It's just a great building and a great program and awesome community. Bottom here is also Federal Way or Mitchell Place. These are all 3 new construction projects MSC built as the affordable housing developer. Mitchell is also is in Federal Way and is a senior project. Okay, so Claire asked me to talk about some of the affordable housing challenges, so I'm squishing it all in here and doing a quick run through of some of the challenges that we face as a small to mid-size affordable housing nonprofit provider in South King County and regionally, and what are some of the challenges that we face both on the preservation and operations side, and then the development challenges. So, and I'm happy for folks want to come off mute and ask questions. I'm happy to engage in any questions or dialogues throughout this. So I'm not just talking, if we don't have to just me talk at you for a while, but we'll go through these and feel free to ask questions if you have them. So the lack of funding, I think you'll hear this a lot, right? The lack of funding available for the existing affordable housing portfolio around preservation. So as you know, the need for affordable housing, which is why SKIP exists, is so great and sometimes so overwhelming that there is an emphasis on bringing new units online. And a lot of funding is being allocated towards new construction. And I think because of the challenges, again, that we're having around affordable housing, there's such a need to bring new units online. However, balancing that with the need of preserving the existing affordable housing stock that we have in our communities, it's just a really fine balancing act. And that we find as a nonprofit developer, when we're applying for funds, we're always, okay, how do we maintain our current housing stock in a way that creates safe, affordable, well-maintained housing and continue to develop new construction as well. So it's a balancing act, and I think it's a balancing act for funders. The inability to take on additional debt service as an option for rehab work for aging properties. So it's one of the things as we look, we've looked into this, even when interest rates were low, we looked at potentially taking on additional debt service on some of these aging properties that need reinvestment and some work. For those that are familiar with LIHTC, you can reapply for a LIHTC for preservation. But again, for those that are familiar with the LIHTC program, even your 4% bond application is super competitive and mostly going to not towards resyndications or renewals. So, if you want to resyndicate a project that's aging, that had got tax credits more than 15 years ago and do a resyndication, resyndications just aren't very competitive in this market. There's most of the tax credits in Washington State are going towards new construction. And again, we understand why, because there's such a need to bring on new units online. So as we look at how we're going to preserve and support our existing aging properties, we've looked at adding additional debt service as an option. Because affordability and rents are so low at these projects, they're just not cash flowing into a place where we can be taking on more debt service. They're barely breaking even or have a loss, particularly coming out of COVID. And I'll share a little bit about high rent balances being an interesting phenomenon coming out of COVID, that high AR continues to really stress operations, and keeping a balanced budget around affordable housing continues to be a challenge. So you'll hear a lot of affordable housing providers talk about more operation subsidies needed. The other thing that we've had some challenges around actually in South King County market is around our aging housing stock marketability. So we may have a unit that can charge up to 80%, but it was, built in the 60s and it's aging, and they could go next door and maybe there's a new affordable housing development down the street that's new or newer, that's at the same rent. So we've had some challenges around just our aging housing stock, keeping it marketable and competitive in our ability to have rents really in terms of penciling out a property, make it work. So just again, a balancing act there. We've had some challenges around that. Insurance has been an ongoing issue. So the rising cost of insurance coverage across Washington State, I've talked to quite a few affordable housing developers in the region that their insurance providers have dropped them this year. Affordable housing is very risky, and insurance companies do not want to insure affordable housing. Our own insurance provider has messaged to the region that they are going to be moving away and dropping all of their multifamily housing and affordable housing providers. We were in negotiations. I think we'll continue with that provider, but we're seeing 20 to 30% increases across the board on our insurance for our housing portfolio. So rising insurance costs and deductibles going from $10,000 to $25,000, which really strains and makes sure, you know, you have enough reserves to cover any deductibles that may need to rise. So insurance will be an ongoing issue in the affordable housing space. So that continues to be an operations challenge. High operations costs around security unit turns, especially when serving a high need population. So we especially see this in permanent supportive housing. We have some unit turns where units are really damaged. You know, we're talking $15,000 worth of damage and a whole new bathroom or, you know, kitchen remodel because things, you know, folks in those high need populations, mental health challenges, substance abuse there's could be a lot of damages in those units. And so we're seeing some really high unit turns and some long, you know, like more than 90 days. And anytime you have a vacancy, right, you're going to have vacancy loss. So that's just challenging operations twofold. And then the other thing is the addition of just additional security. And this may look like cameras. We've worked with some properties to add security gates and parking, and some of our sites do have nighttime patrols, but all those cost money, and so we're seeing high operations costs. Just keeping our families and our individuals safe in their housing, we're having to invest a lot of money to do that. One of the needs, and this is sort of a solution too, but is this the need for more housing vouchers? So individual vouchers, subsidies, operation subsidies, project-based vouchers, again, to help address all the rising costs around operations and the slim margins that affordable housing are trying to operate under make it really challenging to operate affordable housing. So the more we can have housing vouchers support affordable housing operations is a really great way to utilize resources and support families and individuals in our community. Again, I mentioned this phenomenon coming out of COVID. I was at a affordable housing symposium a couple weeks ago, and another affordable housing provider in the region talking about how they are losing $1 million a year on outstanding rent across their portfolio. From outstanding rent balances that are going unpaid. And it's the highest they've ever seen. They've been in business for, 70 years. So this is coming out of COVID. Families are really struggling to pay. I mean, with inflation costs and food costs and families are really struggling. And many of our families they'll get some rent assistance and they'll still continue to struggle and say, I can't afford that. I have, it's a balancing act. And so families really continuing to struggle to pay rents, and we're seeing really high rent balances at our projects, which again, stresses operations, stresses our ability to invest in these properties and to continue to maintain them well. It makes it really challenging because we're just not bringing in the revenue that we expected and budgeted for. I'm going to pause there to see if there are any questions. And if not, I can continue.
Questions from anyone? If you do, go ahead and shout out. I'm not able to see everyone on the screen at the same time, so go right ahead. Okay, I'm not seeing or hearing any, so yeah. Amanda, keep going, please.
All right, I'll jump into the development side of the challenge, the new construction side, which brings its own challenges. High land and construction costs are a big one, right? Just finding land, finding it at an affordable price, and then construction costs escalating. So our Redondo Heights project, for example, projects take many years to come to reality and to close. And so from, the original estimated cost to when we closed, we saw huge escalating costs. And so we're constantly pivoting those 2 years of, our gap is bigger. We need to apply for more funds. We need to see if we can get more debt service here. We're constantly kind of playing that as a cost rose. Financing structures and timelines. So one of the things around finance, I think the financial structures of grading all these resources, again, it's around timelines, right? So thinking about particularly how to bring market units we have some partnerships with market rate developers, and the financing structure is really challenged when trying to combine affordable housing funding and market rate funding to do even retail can be really complicated. So the financing structures around affordable housing, and as you add on any type of commercial spaces or retail spaces, market rate housing, it really complicates the financing structures and timelines, making it really challenging to bring those mixed projects to market. And many of those funders are not necessarily working the same timeline, same requirements. It's a very complicated process. Land use policies that allow for density. So again, I'm sure, all of us are aware of the land use policy impact. We've often are going and making requests around land use to be able to allow for more density. And then supportive permitting process. So one of the things that we faced most of our projects is just around the permitting process challenges that we faced. I can speak specifically to Redondo Heights and just thinking through some of the longer timelines, being able to meet certain timelines for the financing structures and timelines. The financial institutions and bankers want to see permits coming in at a certain pace to be able to close, and some of the challenges around staffing. So we're all facing staffing, and I think some of the permitting offices just having staffing changes or not having the staff capacity to be able to process all the permits that they're getting. I think we're all facing that around staffing challenges. So that continues to be a challenge on the development side as well. So yeah, I'll take, if there are any other questions or comments, I'm happy to address.
Questions? No? I'm not hearing or seeing anything. Thank you.
Perfect. So I'll move on to looking to the future here. So our preservation efforts, our Victorian Place was funded with SKIP. So we really appreciate the recommendation and the support for that preservation project. That is a family, I call it family housing because it's all 3 bedrooms in Des Moines, which is great. Where I grew up, when I spent most of my childhood in Des Moines. So happy to be supporting South King County in this way. So we're SKIP funding. We're excited to be doing a lot of preservation work there at Victorian Place in support of those families. White River and Maple Lane are 2 other projects, smaller projects in both 24 units in Kent and Auburn. And we've applied for the Commerce Fund, which is Housing Preservation Project funds there, to do some major rehab work as well, to do some investment. So we have not heard about those funds, but again, pursuing those funds as a way that we can continue to preserve our affordable housing in South King County. Villa Capri, we are partnering with, I saw Sarah earlier, we're partnering with Sarah and her team on the City of Federal potentially some CDBG funds that have been awarded, and we're kind of going through the contracting process and HUD requirements on that. Again, to really do and reinvest and do some major rehab work at Villa Capri, which is a larger project in Federal 97 units of affordable housing, standard affordable housing. So excited to be able to be working with the City of Federal to utilize CDBG funds in this way, where we get to preserve and invest and support affordable housing in the community. The current development projects in the pipeline for MSC at Redondo Heights. This is the one we mentioned earlier. This is 334 units, which is our largest project ever, right on Pacific Highway, near 272nd Pacific Highway. Will be down the street from the light rail station and will be completed by the end of this year. What you're looking at here on the corner is our additional food bank location. So we will have a market style food bank and cafe that will be open and available for the community to use. The other services that we'll be offering here is wraparound community resource navigation. We'll have a full-time community resource navigator supporting the residents at Redondo Heights. And if as families struggle or have needs, or again, struggling to pay rent or struggling with food access or any other challenges, they'll be able to access the community resource navigator for support. Okay. Any questions?
All right, Amanda, Kirsten, thank you so much. Thank you for this presentation, providing us with the information, but also thank you for the work that you do on a daily basis for our community.
Thank you, Mayor. Tracy, did you have a question? I saw your hand.
More a comment. I am, well, for one, really impressed with your, gosh, your creativity. And I hate to say this, but this was kind of a discouraging presentation with all the challenges that we are facing, that you are facing, trying to provide something good in the community. And it seems like every single category that you presented, it's like a barrier, a barrier, a barrier, a barrier. It just reinforces the need for us to work as hard as we can. And I mean, just thank you for your work. It seems like you've been doing this for a long time and all these barriers are still in your face every day, and you just keep coming to work and supporting these projects. And it makes me very thankful that we could contribute to one of these projects. So thank you for the work you do. It's just really, really a big challenge in our society right now. So thanks.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Dana.
Thank you. Want to follow up exactly what Trace said. Thank you to MSC. I was in the Titusville Station building yesterday, and we were actually having a conversation about the unique challenges that a 100-plus-year-old building presents with retail, but it also, provides space for organizations like Project Feast, which is doing immigrant and refugee training and entrepreneurship and all of those amazing things. So it's not only serving that housing purpose, but also really that focus on providing people with skills. So I just want to say thank you for that. And then the other shout out is just again, thank you to MSC for the amazing partnership that as a city we have had, especially highlighting the work you did with us during COVID and helping some of our smaller organizations get funding out, and that type of partnership I think it's rare, and we're really grateful. So
thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that.
Thank you. I like this Meet the Developer series.
And I will say, I know there's a lot of challenges, but there's so many opportunities for us to collaborate and work across, with each other across different areas of focus. And so I think Skip's a testament to folks coming together to solve big problems. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you both very much. All right, let's move on to the 2024 state legislative update. And the session began on January 8th. We are more than halfway through now. And so we do ask staff to provide us a monthly update to the board on a relevant affordable housing legislation, as well as land use bills. So I am going to turn it over to Dorsal.
Thank you, Chair. Let me just share my screen real quick. And is it my slide showing?
Yes.
Great. Well, good afternoon. My name is still Dorsal Plants, and I'm the SKIP program coordinator. Today, I will provide just a brief high-level update from the legislative session from the last meeting that we had in January. So just a quick look here at our 2024 legislative priority, which is a focus on the need to fund all aspects of affordable housing. This includes homeownership for moderate income households and below, preservation of naturally occurring affordable housing, land acquisition to secure permanent affordability, permanent supportive housing, infrastructure around affordable housing developments, and workforce housing. And here again is the legislative timeline. We are over halfway through session now. We most recently passed the Chamber of Origin cutoff. There are a few more cutoff dates, and the session is scheduled to end on March 7th. So I did not cover House Bill 2354 in my first presentation last month, but it was an important topic of discussion during the tax increment financing briefing, so I wanted to include it this month. You may recall from the briefing that there was a discussion about legislation that would allow tax districts to opt out of future TIFs, which may directly impact the effectiveness of the policy. The original bill provided that each taxing district must opt into a TIF. However, the substitute recommended by the local government committee has removed the opt-in provision and instead requires consultation as part of the TIF formation. There was a public hearing in the Senate Committee on Local Government, Land Use, and Tribal Affairs yesterday, and this bill will now move into an executive session in the same committee on February 20th. Senate Bill 6173, which would enable substitute House Bill 1406 funds to support affordable homeownership up to 80%, passed 49-1 in the Senate, and is scheduled for a public hearing in the House Committee on Local Government on February 20th. It is then scheduled for an executive session in the same committee on February 21st. House Bill 1892, which would create the Workforce Housing Accelerator Revolving Loan Fund Program, passed the House without a single no vote and has moved into the Senate. An executive session was scheduled for this morning with the Senate Committee on Housing. And one thing I do want to call out is that there is still a limit of $20 million per county per year to support geographic equity when awarding funds. When it comes to the TOD bills, most of the activity has been on the House side, and House Bill 2160 passed by a pretty divided vote and is scheduled for an executive session in the Senate Committee on Local Government, Land Use, and Tribal Affairs on February 20th. One item that I did not call out last month that I wanted to highlight today is that there is a requirement that 10% of all residential units within a station area be affordable housing. To help identify station areas and the potential surrounding areas that would be impacted by House Bill 2160, PSRC has created an interactive map which you can use to identify station areas and communities along with transit routes. The link to the map is available on this slide for your review, and it appears that PSRC is updating the information as changes are being made to the bill. These slides are available in your agenda packet, and they were also included in the calendar invitation for today's meeting. Rent stabilization has continued to be a focus of attention during this year's legislative session. House Bill 2114 passed in the House and has had some changes. One that I want to call out is that in the original bill, the limit to rent and fee increases was 5%, and the current form of the bill has changed the limit to 7% during a single year. There are some exceptions to the rent and fee increase limits, and these include any newly constructed building in the last 10 years, eligible organizations that are purchasing a residential property to preserve long-term affordability, and organizations that already have rent increase limits such as housing authorities. This bill is scheduled for a public hearing in the Senate Ways and Means Committee on February 22nd. There's been a lot of activity this session, and by this point, we do know of at least some of the bills that won't be moving forward. The statuses on the following slides are up to date from February 14th, and the hyperlinks are available for any of the bills in the slide deck for your review. Just a quick note on this slide, House Bill 2219, which would exempt nonprofit housing developers from sales tax on construction materials, is being considered necessary to implement the budget. And so there is still some continued discussion going on around it this session. Senate Bill 6015, which would reduce or eliminate parking requirements for newly constructed affordable homes, did pass out of the Senate and has moved into the House. And another quick note on this slide, House Bill 1998, sometimes known as the SRO bill, did pass unanimously in the House and has moved into the Senate. And then House Bill 1245, commonly known as the Lot Splitting Bill, did move out of the House, but it does not appear like it will be moving forward in the Senate side. And so at this time, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to again provide these updates. By the time of our next executive board meeting, the legislative session will be over, and I'll provide a final update on where some of the bills we monitored this session ended up. And now I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions from anyone? Checking for hands. Don't see any. Tracy.
Again, not a question, but just a big thank you. This is a lot of work to put all that together, and it's nice spreadsheet format. So Dorsal, thank you for just staying up on all that and giving us a digested version of all these. It's super hard right now to keep up with everything. So thank you.
Thank you.
That's a great comment, Tracy. Thank you for that. Any other questions for Dorsal? Dorsal, thank you so much. All right, we will move on to the 2025 Work Plan Development Survey. And our interlocal agreement does require that the executive board recommend an annual work plan and budget. So today we'll take a brief survey. I know how much you all love those, which will help to inform the development of a draft work plan and budget for discussion at our next meeting in March. A recommended 2025 work plan and budget will be presented at the April 19th executive board meeting for adoption, followed by council action by each member jurisdiction that has to occur by July 12th. So Claire, I am going to turn it over to you to review the survey.
Thank you, Chair. So as the Chair mentioned, the SKIP Formation Interlocal Agreement requires the adoption of an annual work plan and budget. To begin that process this year for the development of the 2025 work plan, I wanted to solicit some initial ideas from the board, which will help me prepare for next month's in-person board meeting where I'll facilitate a workshop on this topic. So you all received the link to the survey yesterday from me, but Dorsal is going to drop the link into the chat and explain how to access incognito mode so the survey doesn't get connected to your personal email account. We'll take 15 minutes for the survey. And the majority of that time will be spent likely of you reading the current 2024 work plan in order to respond to two simple questions. There is a third question that asks what topics you're interested in learning more about here at the executive board. For instance, today you heard from the Multi-Service Center. Are there other organizations you're interested in hearing from? Are there topics you want to learn more about? So we want to know in order to plan the rest of this year. So Dorsal, would you share your screen and walk us through how to access incognito mode?
Yes, the process might look slightly different depending on what browser you're using. I use Google, so I will show the Google Chrome method. But if you can see my browser here, up here in the top right corner, there's a 3-button menu that you can select. You can hit the new incognito window, and then you would just copy and paste the just the URL, not the name, up here, and hit enter. This will make it so that your account is not tied to it. It will just be the survey results. If you're using Firefox, I believe it is called a private browser, and so you would just open up a new private browser. The menu looks slightly different, but it should be either 3 dots or 3 lines.
Thanks, Dorsal. And I would say for folks, this is really intended for the primary executive board member, unless you know that as an alternate, you're going to be attending a lot of these meetings because the information will be used throughout the year. So we want to make sure that whoever is going to be here most of the time is the one responding to the questions. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. And we will we'll be reaching out to those that aren't here today to just ensure that they are able to respond to the survey. So with that, if there's no questions, I'll set the 15-minute timer. Thank you. And feel free to go off camera as well if that's more comfortable for you. All right, well, that was 15 minutes. I'm getting word from Dorsal who's tracking it. We've got two that still haven't been submitted, so I would say we could take an additional couple minutes for folks to finish up. Chair, does that sound good to you?
That's fine. I think we may be a couple minutes ahead of schedule anyway, so I think that's good.
All right, sounds good. I will add 3 more minutes. Thank you. All right. And that is time. So I would say for anyone that wasn't able to complete it, if you could finish it, I would say as soon as you are able, that would be very helpful. We did get the vast majority of folks in, so much appreciated to everyone for taking the time to do that. So that'll really help with our meeting next month to start beginning those conversations about the 2025 work plan. So thank you, Chair. Oh, and you're on mute.
I hit it, but I didn't click on it like I should have. Thank you. All right, let's move on to the 2023 annual and Q4 report. So as required in our SKIP ILA, staff provides quarterly progress reports and budget updates. The Q4 progress report also serves as the annual report. The report serves as an accountability and progress update, as well as a tool for those of us as board members to update our member councils and other interested parties. And Claire, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you. So the progress report was included as a supplemental document to your agenda packet sent yesterday by me at 11:46 a.m. The 2019 interlocal agreement requires the executive manager to submit quarterly budget performance and progress reports on the status of the work program to you, the executive board, and that it be shared with the legislative body of each of your jurisdictions. As we've discussed in prior meetings, this document will be sent to the staff work group members to distribute to your legislative bodies in the way that works best for each jurisdiction. So with that, I am going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's see. All right. Can you see this? Is it too small?
No, it looks good, at least on my screen.
All right, thank you. So 2023 represented a time of foundation building, bringing awareness about SKIP to a wider audience in order to build collaborative relationships and promote awareness about our Housing Capital Fund. It also represented a time of expanding the SKIP Housing Capital Fund to fund the creation and preservation of affordable housing in South King County. Excuse me. I'm not going to go over all the items listed, but did want to call out the quadrupling of funding available to the Housing Capital Fund due to 2 of our member cities contributing a portion of their House Bill 1590 revenues. Thank you, cities of Kent and Covington. And also the doubling of the number of applications we received for funding, which did represent a wider geographic area than we had received last year. So we worked closely with the city of SeaTac to ensure that they had all the information needed to make a decision on whether to join SKIP and what that would mean for the city and our coalition. And as you know, that turned out to be a successful endeavor, and we welcome them here today as our newest member. We made progress on developing sub-regional affordable housing preservation strategies with the South King County Planners, or SOKIHO is how we affectionately call them. And that work continues in this year. So you hired and onboarded me as the new executive manager, and I am appreciative for the opportunity to serve. We hosted and facilitated a roundtable with 11 South King County developers on reducing barriers to affordable housing development in the subregion and finalized the internal affordable housing inventory dashboard. Excuse me. We collaborated with the county and Arch on submission of a HUD grant, which we are still awaiting the status of from HUD. And we represented SKIP at over 200 regional meetings, representing 25 unique groups. There is more that we accomplished this year as well. Just won't fit on one page. More detail on many of these items can be seen on the Q1 through Q3 reports that we produce and distribute to your councils. So the development of affordable housing takes years in the making, and patience and resilience are assets in this work. So I thank you for your time and investment to this board's work. Now regarding the budget update, that's listed on the second page. So beginning with operating revenue, these figures should look familiar since these are the annual member contributions. The Housing Capital Fund contributions are what we have invoiced for the 2023 funding round and includes the additional House Bill 1590 funds from Covington and Kent that hadn't shown up yet in last quarter's report. So the Commerce Grant column is what we've invoiced in 2023 to our funding cities for the Affordable Housing Dashboard. And you'll see the contributions and donations, this phantom $5,000, which we discussed in the last 2 quarter reports, is due to a budgeted estimated grant from 2018 that never transpired. And we're removing it now to accurately reflect our fund balance. And the interest earnings totals $132,000, which is the total for the entire SKIP fund, and accrues interest on the capital funds as well. So this number will continue to grow as we wait for construction to begin on the projects that we're funding. So operating expenditures for the year total $371,000, with an estimated ending fund balance on December 31st at $394,000. So you may be saying to yourself, wow, this is a much higher fund balance than we anticipated to end the year. And that is true. But I also want to caution everyone looking at this chart to consider that if we do remove that interest earnings from the revenue, we're still spending more than we bring in terms of member contributions. So the member contributions are those long-term sustainable revenue sources for SKIP. So in the long term, what it means is that we have a healthy fund balance that we continue to spend down each year rather than raising member contributions more than necessary. The other point I want to mention is that the expenditures do include about $4,000 that hasn't been accounted for in our official accounting system at the City of Auburn, who's our administering agency. So those numbers were manually added to this report and calculated so that they could be included in that full year-end picture for you. So you'll also notice there are no expenditures on the capital side yet, though we are working closely with Habitat for Humanity on that Burien Miller Creek project to finalize our contract. So with that, Chair, I would be happy to take any questions the board may have.
Any question? Am I still muted? I keep getting a message that I'm muted. Any questions from Claire? For Claire. All right. There do not appear to be any. We have no action on that. It was just for discussion and any feedback that you may have. So let's move on to updates and announcements if there isn't any question for Claire. Claire, I think you have a couple of items that you wanted to share, and then we'll open it up to the other board members.
Yes, just a couple from me. So regarding a quick update on our sub-regional preservation strategies. So that work began, if you recall, back in September to develop a sub-regional approach to addressing affordable housing preservation. And if you recall, the planners from each of your cities presented at that meeting. And since that time, we have been meeting as a group monthly, but sometimes every other week as well, to figure out what strategies make the most sense for all of the cities to be considering when addressing affordable housing preservation in order to potentially incorporate into the comprehensive plans that are due at the end of this year that your planners are diligently working on. So that work is continuing now and over the next couple months before most cities begin finalizing their comprehensive plans. So my intention is that we'll present to you those sub-regional strategies along with our South King County planners at our April Executive Board meeting. And then in terms of next month's Executive Board meeting, this is a reminder that we'll be holding that meeting in person on March 15th in the City of Auburn Council Chambers. We will be engaging in the development of the 2025 work plan through some workshop activities, and I promise it will be fun. We will be also diving into the 2024 Housing Capital Fund priorities and guidelines. I know it seems early, and I would like to begin this work as soon as possible, given my maternity leave potentially starting as soon as our May executive board meeting. So I just want us to be in a good spot before I take leave. So both of these topics, the work plan development and those funding guidelines, are critical to the board. And the intention will be to adopt both of these finalized documents by our April meeting. And I think we can do it. I think we can. So I'll be sharing information through your agenda packet for your review in advance of next month's meeting. It will be a more productive meeting if you're able to review those in advance. So between now and when you're getting that agenda packet for March, I'll be working on an initial draft of the work plan that incorporates what I hear from the surveys that you all took today, but also that addresses just some administrative updates in the work plan, like changing the dates to reflect we're talking about 2025, not 2024, and rephrasing items for clarity and to just accurately reflect the current status of these items. So we'll use that version as the starting point at our next meeting. And those are the only updates I have.
All right, thank you. Any updates from our members? Ryan.
Oh, sorry, I tried to get unmuted. Yes, I just wanted to, I sort of did this at the beginning, but I intend to do this at the end, say thank you for the opportunity to serve on SKIP. It's been a pleasure. I'm sure I won't be too much of a stranger as I hand the baton off to Carmen, who I have no doubt will represent Renton well and has lots to contribute to this group. So just wanted to say my thanks and gratitude to this group for the good work you do.
Thank you, Ryan. It has been a pleasure to have you on our board. We hope you won't be a stranger, that you come around even when Carmen is with us, that you enjoy us enough that you want to sit in.
I mean,
You
I
are
stuck
always
it out
welcome.
today.
Excellent. Anyone else have anything to share? Look at us on a Friday afternoon being 20 minutes early. Well, if that is the case, we are 20 minutes early, and I wish for you a weekend that is filled with sunshine. I see some blue sky right now. I hope you have some, and that you find joy in everything that you do. And thank you so much for your dedication to this work. And here's to a great 2024 to continue with that work. Thank you. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.